Hello YouTube and welcome to my Season 13 Kha Zix Jungle Guide. If you don't know who I am, I'm Kha Zix. I have probably over 3 million mastery points on this champion and I've been playing this champion for over 5 years now. I've peaked over 1000 LP Challenger on Northern East and over 700 LP on West. And I was rank 1 on Khazix according to League of Graphs on both Northern East and West. On top of that, I have the longest win streak with Khazix through low elo. So I've been playing this champion and carrying with it in all different elos and know this champion quite well. The most important thing for Khazix is pathing, and as you can see we are currently watching a crazy game which is gonna have over 100 kills, and it is Grandmaster elo on West. I'm starting on my blue buff, so on my top side, and I'm basically full clearing down. And this is what you're most often going to do with Khazix, is you're gonna start in your weak side and full clear down towards your strong side. There are a few exceptions though, and the exceptions are if you can kill the enemy jungler on their second buff, then what you can do is you can do free camp into invading the enemy champion on their second buff. Or if you see a free kill when you're level 3 or level 4, you'll skip camps and run to the lane that is a free kill if they decide to overstay with low HP. But for the most part, you just full clear until level 6 and then you start playing aggressive from level 6. Another important thing for Khazix is selecting a good rune page that fits your playstyle. And in my opinion, there are 4 different rune pages that are viable for Khazix at the moment. 3 of them are for lethality and 1 of them are for tank Khazix. So the 3 for lethality Khazix are Electrocute, Dark Harvest and First Strike. And the 1 for tank is Conquer Khazix. The differences between the rune pages are that Electrocute is really good for dealing damage onto one target. Dark Harvest is really good for being able to potentially get resets in team fights and get multiple procs in one fight. And First Strike is really good at generating gold, so you can reach your items faster and reach your Powerspikes faster and thereby deal more damage. Conquer is really good for consistent DPS for when you're going tank and can actually one-shot anyone, but have great sustainability with the healing and consistent damage you get through Conquer as well as your build. In my opinion, lethality Khazix is better, and out of the 3 rune pages, I think that Dark Harvest and First Strike are the best, and I think it just comes down to personal preference rather than a rune page being better than the other. And it basically comes down to, can you get many kills in a team fight where you can get many resets, then I think you should go Dark Harvest. And if you can't do that, but you can generate gold through just ganks or invades throughout the game to get your items faster, I think you should go First Strike. So you can try both of them out and see which one you like most and stick to that one. The last thing we need to talk about when it comes to setup for Khazix is of course the build. And this guide will mainly focus on the lethality build, but I'll quickly mention the bruiser / tank build. So you will go Green Smite into Gore Drinker with Black Cleaver, and then Spear of Shojin with Ionia Boots, and then your 5th and 6th item will either consist of more damage items such as Hydra, or more defensive items such as Death Dance, Malphma Mortius, Frozen Heart, or even Spirit Visage. Whereas the lethality build, you will go Blue Smite, and then there are 2 different variations. Either you rush Umbral Glaive into Duskblade and Prowler's Claw, or you go for your mythic item being Duskblade into Axiom Arc and then Prowler's Claw. Both of them you'll go Ionia Boots, and then your 5th and 6th item will either consist of more lethality if enemy team is not stacking armor, or if they are stacking armor you will go either Black Cleaver or Cyrilda's Grudge. We already spoke a little bit about pathing, but I want to go a little bit more in depth when it comes to what are you looking towards pathing towards. So I already mentioned that you want to start in your weak side and path towards your strong side. And what I mean by this is that Khazix doesn't have any CC in his kit, and therefore he needs either his laners to provide CC for him to set up a good gank for him, or he needs the enemy team to be very immobile so that he can simply leap on top of them and kill them. Of course, if the enemy team overstays on low HP, it doesn't really matter what type of champion they're playing if you can one-shot them within just one combo. But you want to play towards the lanes that either can provide CC for when you gank them, or for enemy champions that don't have any dashes or mobility abilities, so that you can easily kill them by the time you actually do end up having time to do a gank. And then we have the good old question. What should you evolve on Khazix at the different levels? And in my opinion, there are 3 different evolve orders that are really good right now. First one being the classic QWE evolve, where at level 6 you'll evolve Q for the better clear, as well as the insane 1v1 potential with isolation damage. Into at level 11 being able to provide utility for your team and slow the enemy team down so you can catch up to them. Into then hopefully being fed enough at level 16 that you're capable of one-shotting the enemy team, so you can one-shot and jump onto a different target who's trying to escape from your team. The second option is RWE evolve, which is really good with the extra invis being able to do better ganks as well as taking earlier skirmish fights and team fights with the extra invis. Into then providing utility at level 11, into hopefully being fed enough that you can one-shot people at level 16 so you can reset onto multiple people. And then we have the last playstyle, which is a mix of the two, where you will evolve your level 6 Q, and then by the time you hit level 11, you will figure out if you are really fed, you will evolve your R so you can play for yourself even more. Or if you're not fed or can't carry the game due to the fact that the enemy team has a really difficult team composition to play against, you'll then evolve W for your utility. And then if you evolve W at level 11, you'll then evolve E at level 16. Whereas if you evolved Q into R at level 11, you will then at level 16 figure out if you need the utility for your team because your team is starting to do well, or can you put the game into your own hands and evolve E, and basically one-shot everyone and carry the team fights yourself. You can try out the different playstyles, but I would say the easiest one is the QWE evolve, but the RWE evolve is better in higher elo, but I will say that the weaknesses are for Q evolve that if you play against team compositions that can remove your isolation damage, Q evolve is completely useless, whereas if you're playing R evolve and you play against True Sight, that makes it a lot more difficult for you to actually do anything in teamfights because you'll simply be revealed in your stealth and enemy team can basically just kill you and you don't have the option to reposition. So choose your playstyle wisely, but I think that all of these 3 options are viable, and if you can perfect them, you can get all the way to Challenger with this playstyle. When it comes to jungle matchups, jungle is a weird role where you can actually avoid the enemy jungler for the entire game if you just decide to play on the other side of the map of where the enemy jungler is going. So the jungle matchups are not the end of the world. If you have a bad matchup in the jungle, you typically will just play for the lane that makes it the easiest for you to get through a bad jungle matchup. Whereas if you have a good jungle matchup, it allows you to do more invades or do more aggressive plays, and you don't have to respect your opponent as much. And I have an old picture that I made a few years ago of the different jungle matchups and when you should do what throughout the early game that I'll put up on screen here for you to take a look at. If you want to look a bit more at it, you can pause the video, but otherwise we'll keep on going with the guide. Now it's time to talk about Powerspikes on Khazix. So when does Khazix actually spike throughout the game? And Khazix's first Powerspike is gonna be when he reaches his Serrated Dirk. An item that costs 1100 gold, but has really good AD ratio as well as lethality, which gives you insane early game damage. As soon as you reach your Serrated Dirk, you can start to play a little bit more aggressive and look for ganks or invades if there is an opportunity to do so. The next Powerspike for Khazix is reaching level 6, where you will evolve your first ability, which is gonna be either your Q or your R, depending on your playstyle. The next Powerspike is gonna be level 9, because then you have maxed out your Q. And your mythic item as well, or your first item, is another Powerspike where you can look to play even more aggressive. Additional Powerspikes are level 11, where you evolve your second ability, as well as level 16 when you evolve your third ability, and then every time you reach another legendary item is basically another Powerspike for Khazix, where you can play even more aggressive if you are ahead, or at least even compared to the enemy. Then a lot of people ask me, well, I do know how to play Khazix, but I struggle to play teamfights as Khazix. How do I actually play teamfights? So if you have your ulti evolved, it's a little bit easier to teamfight compared to having your Q evolved, but essentially the playstyle is more or less the same. The issue with Khazix players are the fact that new Khazix players will look to engage with their E, which is really bad because it's so predictable. You want to play fog of war game, so you want to play outside the enemy team's vision and then engage with your ulti and hold onto your E to either jump onto a secondary target or to jump out of a team fight after you either burst someone or one-shot someone. And I have a few examples here that I want to showcase. First one being a team fight, well, small skirmish fight you could say, where I'm flanking on the right side with my sweeper, and then I one-shot the enemy Vladimir, jump onto the secondary target, which is Rel, who unfortunately fails her flash, and then I get a secondary kill. Not too much longer after this, I make a similar play, where I'm more or less doing the same thing. Here you can see that I'm again playing around the vision. I then again one-shot the Vladimir, and one-shot Vladimir and Rel once again. So I basically go through the enemy team's tank, in this situation it's Rel, with my invis to get to the enemy backline, where I can then one-shot them. As long as I can reach their backline through my invis, I can walk through their front line, as long as their backline is isolated. If their backline is not isolated, I should consider either ulting back and then use my third ulti to engage, or simply just jump out or walk back, because it could be really, really bad. Another situation is this one right here, where I'm flanking off the top side now in mid lane. I spot the Ezreal, he's isolated. I again walk past the enemy front line, who is Rel, one-shot the enemy Ezreal and jump out with my E. I can then re-engage with my third ulti. Through Action Arc I get another reset on my ult, so I can then kill the Graves and flash out, and then unfortunately I end up dying to Aurelion Sol. I hope this gives you insight on how to teamfight with Khazix, because it can be kind of difficult to teamfight as an assassin. It's not ideal to teamfight as an assassin, but it's something that more or less will happen in most of your games, especially in low elos where everything is so chaotic. I hope you guys enjoyed this Khazix guide. I have a separate video for when you should draft Khazix. And if you want to see more Khazix gameplay, you can either follow my Twitch or you can subscribe to my YouTube, where I have both Khazix guides, where I'm coaching low elo Khazix players, or full gameplay commentaries of me playing in Master and Grandmaster elo on EOS on my YouTube channel. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, that will help out my channel a lot. Leave a comment down below if you have any questions regarding Khazix, and subscribe to not miss out on future content on my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching, and see you guys.